Hi, I'm Roy Furr, and for today's video issue of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, we're doing another One Big Idea video where I talk about a copywriting book, a marketing book, a selling book, a business building book, and I share the one biggest, most influential, and also most unique takeaway idea that I got from that book so that you can immediately apply that in your marketing, in your copywriting, in your selling and business building. And for today's book, we're going to be talking about the AdWeek Copywriting Handbook by Mr. Joseph Sugarman. Mr. Joseph Sugarman. And I've actually had the good pleasure of hanging out with Joe Sugarman a couple times, both at the Titans of Direct Response event and at an AWI boot camp. And he is one interesting character. So for those who don't know, he was responsible for so many innovations in direct response. He was one of the first people to use an 800 number to take orders for a direct response ad. One of the first people to use credit cards to take orders for a direct response ad. He actually got Batman credit cards printed and on the cusp of being launched, and then ended up with like a warehouse full of these Batman credit cards because at the last minute his ability to launch these, his permission to launch these got pulled. But by far Joe Sugarman's biggest success was with blue blocker sunglasses. And I'm sure the brand is familiar to you unless you're, I don't know, maybe if you're younger than me, you haven't heard of them. But Blue Blockers is such a big sunglass success, and it was on the back of his direct response prowess, both in space ads and in TV media, in infomercials. He ran infomercials for Blue Blocker sunglasses. And even before that, he was selling gadgets before it was cool to sell gadgets with his JS&A advertising. And he's got lots of stories in here, lots of examples of great copywriting, and lots of takeaway principles and lessons that he learned from becoming a great copywriter and building multiple successful direct response businesses. And as I read this book and as I've heard him talk, one lesson that he continuously teaches really jumped out at me. And actually this lesson is split into two separate chapters that I have marked early on in the book here. So chapter 4 is the purpose of all the graphic elements of an ad. And by that he's referencing the headline, the subheadline, photos or drawings, any captions, any visual presentation of the copy, paragraph headings, logo, price, response device, overall layout, everything about the visual presentation of the ad. And he has these axioms throughout the books, principles throughout the book. He calls them axioms. And the lesson is contained in this axiom. He says, all the elements in an advertisement are primarily designed to do one thing and one thing only: get you to read the first sentence of the copy. And then I'm skipping forward because the next chapter is appropriately named The First Sentence. And he says, for Axiom 3, the sole purpose of the first sentence in an advertisement is to get you to read the second sentence. So I want to talk about these two combined axioms for a minute and why they represent the one big idea in a book full of very helpful ideas on copywriting and direct response marketing. So before you can make the sale, before you can make your case, before you can establish the benefits of your product, before you can tell the prospect that you have a solution to whatever problem they're facing, you need to do one thing. And that one thing is to get their attention and to hold their attention. And this focus in Joe Sugarman's work that before you can think about anything else, you need to focus on, okay, how can I get the attention of my target market so that they will pay attention to me, so that they will continue paying attention to me, so that they will keep reading. And this thought process that's required where you say, okay, everything about the visual presentation needs to push the reader into the first sentence. And then the first sentence needs to keep them interested enough to read the second sentence. And that goes all the way through every single sentence, whether you're talking a shorter copy direct response ad or like an email that you're trying to get a click on, or a promotion that can go as long as 10,000 words. Your job as the copywriter, if you are looking to generate response, is to get and hold your prospects' attention by continuing to make it relevant to them, continuing to make it about them, continuing to speak to them in a way where they stay engaged, where they resonate with the message that you're talking about. And there's a lot more in this book and in the practice of copywriting that that will teach you how to go through that process, how to get and engage attention and keep attention. But this serves as the foundation for all of that. This fundamental principle that your job, your first job as an advertiser, as a direct response marketer, as a copywriter, is to figure out how you can get your prospect engaged with your message. And if you fail on that, you are going to fail completely. And a bit of a horror story, and I've already shared this in one of my articles on Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. I recently had a campaign come back to me where we had super high fall off, and it was based on poor word choice on my part that I let get through to the final draft in the headline. Poor word choice, where the headline of my promotion undoubtedly created confusion, and I know that it created confusion because prior to my promotion coming out, you could start to type the first part of my headline into Google, and it didn't give you any recommendations for search results. But as soon as the promotion came out, I then tried to type the headline into Google, and auto suggest for what I might be searching for that Google does based on what other people are searching for. Suddenly it was suggesting a search term that to me clearly implied that people were confused about the nature of what I was talking about. And they were immediately disqualifying themselves from being good prospects for whatever my message was because there was confusion about what my message would actually be talking about. And so in that headline, by using the wrong terms, I was causing prospects to say, oh, this isn't for me. So they weren't giving me their attention. They weren't engaging. And for the small percentage that were engaging and really reading down into the message, we actually got good conversion rates. We had people who would stay engaged once they got a certain depth into the message and convert and become customers at a very acceptable level. But because we failed on that readership sale, I should have read Joe Sugarman's book again, because we failed on that readership sale, because we weren't getting people into the copy, we weren't able to make the sale. And so we're in the process of revamping that promo now so that we can test it again and hopefully make the sale. And so that is a bad story that only underscores that even a really good copywriter, someone with a long history and track record of success, can fail on these things. And that's actually another lesson that Joe talks about a lot, especially when you hear him speak in person. And when you meet him, he talks about how this is most of his success in copywriting, his success in direct response, his success in business is a listing of the very few number of projects that succeeded, and he has a much longer list of things that he tried and that failed. And so it is absolutely worth continuing to try, continuing to fail, continuing to learn from that failure, continuing to develop your success. And if you want a shortcut to that, there are actually a lot of shortcuts in the AdWeek Copywriting Handbook. But first and foremost, if you think you have a good message, you need to make sure that when you start to present that message, what you are doing first is engaging with people with a message that they are going to be interested in and that they're going to want to hear more from you. And then working hard to maintain that attention, that readership. And his focus is on print here because most of his work was in print. But it's the same thing if you are in video format. The first sentence in a video needs to sell a viewership of the second sentence and the third sentence and the fourth sentence. And to some degree, once you get into the video momentum, it works in your favor as a marketer, as a copywriter. But still, ultimately, your job is to maintain that attention throughout your selling message, all the way up until the point where they say, okay, I've heard enough, I'm ready to buy. And if you can do that successfully, if you can maintain that attention long enough all the way through the end of your selling message, or up until that point where you've hit enough of the triggers, you have established that your product or service, your offer, is going to fulfill on their buying criteria, then you will be successful with that ad. And you know, I will say one more thing about this book, that Joe Sugarman also wrote a book called Triggers that was all about the psychological triggers that make people buy, that make people engage with your selling message. And I would recommend this book before you buy Triggers, because it does have an overview starting on page 131 in chapter 19 on the triggers, and it's a very good book, and I think that you will find it useful. I'll include a link with this video. Also, if you're not yet a Breakthrough Marketing Secrets subscriber, you can go to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com. Sign up, you'll get these video issues every Friday, as well as my Monday through Thursday articles delivered straight to your email inbox. So again, this is One Big Idea about the Advertising Copywriting Handbook by Joe Sugarman, or Joseph Sugarman if you're looking him up online. My name is Roy Furr. This is your video issue of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, and I look forward to seeing you again in my next Video Friday issue. Talk to you later.